Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome back for some more EVE Online. Welcome also to Dodixie, the largest Galente trade hub in EVE Online. I thought I would do today's video from here because I have been doing a little bit of mining, and that's been mostly from Galente space, so I'm curious to see how the market is doing here. Now, Dodixie is not that far away from Cheetah, 15 jumps. It's still a decent trek, but it's also relatively safe, so I'm expecting a little bit more coherence between Dodixie and Cheetah compared to Amar. And Cheetah, by the way, I took a quick look just a couple of days ago at the prices in Amar, and minerals are way cheaper than in Cheetah there. So let's dive in, let's go to the market, and then let's take a look at what's happening with the minerals in Dodixie. So here is titanium. First of all, take a quick look at the chart. We get something a little bit similar to what we've seen in Cheetah in EVE Talk as well, namely that in the month of September titanium has started to go up in price from 4 to 4.5. So I would say that the chart is a little bit below what's been happening in Cheetah itself. But if we look at the sellers, then 4.6 is for the sellers, 408 for the buyers. I think that's pretty much in line with what you're getting in Cheetah at the moment. So perhaps moving my titanium or my Veldspar all the way out to Cheetah is not necessarily necessary, might not even be very economical. Next up, we've got pyrite, and this is definitely a different picture. I'm seeing way more volatility. You've got spikes up to 20 ISK that happened once, twice, almost, let's say, every single month. We get decently close to it. Now, not exactly to 20, but you can see some of these daily averages are definitely quite high. And even right now, we are doing the exact same thing. 5-day moving average is being pulled up quite substantially, and that's because, except for one seller, we're at 22.15 for the sellers and 15.38 for the buyers. That's a pretty wide margin there, but I think those sellers are doing some pretty good business compared to the current Cheetah prices. So a little bit more volatility here in pyrite, definitely seeing the average prices all over the place, which means that your timing is going to be pretty important. But if you have the patience to get the best sell orders out of all of this, I think again, pyrite, just like with titanium, could be a good deal out here in Dodixie. Next up, we've got the Mexallon chart that also has a little bit of upside at the tail end, but basically a jump up in November. So I think we had a more gradual increase back in Cheetah. Sellers are coming in at, except for one of them, 77 ISK for Mexallon and 58 for the buyers. Let's see actually what's happening around the station. Yeah, we get a I choose you, that's at 72, but other than that we don't have that much competition around Dodixie either. Buyers going up to 58 in one jump out in botane in the I choose you market. So that makes, maybe we'll take a quick look at that in pyrite as well. 15.38, nope, that's not a big difference, but we do go up a little bit in buy prices, so a little bit of competition from the player owned trade hubs, although here in station 58.08 someone is competing with that. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, 77, I think that's a better price yet again than in Cheetah itself. Now, one thing to note, of course, it's a much smaller trade hub, so you might be stuck with some of your minerals a little bit longer. And I would say that availability, you can see I can't browse on the supply of Mexallon. For pyrite, can't browse either. You've got one front page and that's it. And then titanium should have a little bit of browsing, yeah, but definitely way less in the volumes as well. Look at that, couple of 17.28 million, everything else just a couple million, and you have to go up to almost 6 ISK to bump into 100 million units and 500 million units. So the availability is a lot less here in Dodixie compared to Cheetah, which of course partly explains that increased volatility as well that we're noticing in pyrite, as you do get some big volumes here in all likeliness as well. At the moment it's at 48 million at 22.19, and so from time to time you can basically bump up against some of these larger orders at higher prices as well, providing you with nice sell opportunities. So for high-sec miners, honestly, and since I've been doing my mining in Galente space, I would say I'm probably gonna move my stuff mostly to Dodixie and not to Cheetah. Next, we've got the low-sec minerals. Here is Isogen, and that is a very interesting chart to me personally, because we have that same increase in value for Isogen as, in my opinion, I've said this this many times, we are slowly absorbing the old Isogen reserves from the time of plenty. And we are getting closer and closer to being price dependent, or having that price discovery be dependent on active supply, so what is mined in LOSEC, and active demand, which I think is still higher than what we've got here. But in JITA, if you remember, we keep bumping up against that 125, and very noticeable in the last week for Isogen, we are breaking through that here in the Dodixie market. 138 for the sellers, availability is not that great. And you do have like a 5 million, 7.5 million here, 10 million units here, and a couple here. But that same pattern is clearly noticeable as well, that they are spreading those old reserves out in smaller and smaller batches, and they are trying to get higher and higher prices for these as well. So from a 138.5, then here we get a 145, and 20 million units, no, 30 million units actually, at 175 as well. And I think it's entirely possible that we'll just slowly work our way through all of this and eventually bump these higher prices as well. If this has any predictive capability, then this is very positive news for those that are hoping for higher prices for Isogen in JITA as well. This is a very sharp rise, but a more sustained one. You've got a clearer picture as to what's happening here in Dodixie. And I'm going to say that, yeah, that's 125. Probably a bit of a metric that was in line with what we were bumping up against in JITA itself. And there was probably like a big order at 125 that kept us in check for like most of this this month period here. But once you chew through it, and I doubt it's as much as there was available in JITA, yeah, Dodixie tends to be will in all likeliness be the one that will seek higher price points before JITA, which again is not that bad for opportunities. Then we've got the Noxium market that also just moved back up, and in fact I would say that the consensus price in Dodixie is always or always feels higher than in JITA, because we get spikes up to 1500, a little bit of a decline here, but only daily averages manage to touch 1000 ISK, and we generally manage, I think, well above 1100 on average. Yeah, 1100 on average. And then here at the tail end we have a market increase in price, almost 1400 ISK for the sellers, 1313 for the buyers, so they are following suit here. In the Isaac minerals you get a much bigger spread between sellers and buyers, but it looks like for the low-sec minerals that we've got a lot more competition all of a sudden, even at these higher prices. Then we've got the Noxium minerals, so here is Zydrine that is moving up to 1250 here as well. 1250 for the sellers and 1054 for the buyers. Bit of margin opening up here, but it's basically we're running out of Isogen in Dodixie, which yet again to me indicates that there's like better sell opportunities here because of that lower availability. Again, timing will be very important, but that is quite noticeable here. And then Megacyte, that also has a spike right here and is slowly coming down from that. We managed to get average price of above 1100 ISK for Megacyte as well. We're going back down to 940, so there is fresh supply coming in, but you can see where we bumped into this. 300,000 units at 1111 ISK, 1111 ISK. Down here, buyers are at 702, so here they do have a little bit of patience compared to low-sec. You can see that they're far more desperate than what's available here. And then we do have some sell orders that are plugging the gap, but we're talking 200, 300,000, maybe 400, maybe 500,000 units if you're generous. Of Megacyte below that price point that was tested up here, up to 1100. So that same story here, yet again, lower availability and thus more volatility and potentially better sell opportunities. But you don't want to spook the market, because you can see that just 100,000 units takes some, means that you see quite a bit of undercutting very quickly as well. So if you spook the market down here, for instance, with a 940 with another 100,000 units, be sure that there'll be some undercutters that'll come straight away. A bit harder to do, but potentially I am seeing more ISK that can be gotten here, especially for solo players that don't have those massive volumes. And then finally, we also have the Morphite market that does reflect what's happening in JITA very closely. I think we're down towards that 50,000. On average, it's 59,000. Again, I think a little bit more expensive than JITA, but 46,000 for the buyers. Way larger margin. That's opening up here, so that downwards momentum basically confirmed here as well. Very, very interesting. I thought for another part of this video that we would also take a look at the new mining crystals. I think that could be pretty interesting to see what's happening with those as well. So let's start with the Asteroid mining crystals, and we'll try to go over some of these. Now, obviously, these are new items since the new Dawn patch, so for good charts, we're gonna be a little bit early, but I'm more interested in just general availability and the price ranges. So let's take a look at that. Maybe I can also put this filter up just to see what's happening. But Abyssals, obviously not that popular just yet. There's a single one available at 3 million ISK. Coherence, let's take a look at that. All right, down below 200,000 ISK for the sellers. Availability 54 here, couple 106 jumps out, 88. Maybe I should take a quick look at just what's available here. That's quite fine, and costing at around 100,000 ISK. Then we've got, they do seem to be a little bit mixed up here, but alright. If we want to go for a B-type coherent asteroids, 2 million ISK, and then a C-type going for 15 million, and the availability is completely gone. So I do think it could be worth it to take a quick look at what it costs to make them. As you can probably tell, I kind of prepared the video and took a look at this, and so this is partly responsible for the increased price of Noxium, because the Tech 1 mining crystals require Noxium to be built. 250 units for the A-type, which costs 200,000 ISK, and then let's see if it's 2,500 for the B-type. B-type, where the hell are you? Coherent B-type, there it is. Then industry, no, it's only 313,000, so you know that should probably still be below 300,000 once everything settles down. Very, very big difference between production costs here and then the actual and the price that they're going for on the market. And then the C-types, there's going to be very little interest in that, so we're going to look for the coherence here again. And then we are up to, well, even up 375 for that one, so up again. So the pattern that you're looking at here is the A-type is going to be the cheapest and the easiest to produce, and then the others have a little bit more material, but not like double or anything like that. So you can definitely, you know, have an expectation as to what's going to happen when these A-type coherent asteroid mining crystals are selling for less than 200,000 ISK. That should still be a profitable price. And then these coherent B-types are trying to be sold at 2 million ISK. Yeah, that doesn't make that much sense. That's very, very expensive. More supply should come online and should bring these prices down. Perhaps, of course, an opportunity for those that are interested in industry, because it's not like these items cost that much to produce either. 300 units, 313 units of Noxium, and you've got some mining crystals, which at the moment, let's see if they can also manage any sales. Yeah, looks like they can actually manage some sales at 2 million ISK here as well. You're looking at some pretty crazy profits. We'll do the simple ones for HiSec as well. 40,000 ISK for a single crystal for an A-type. Let's see if the production cost is also down. That's just 100 Noxium units. Let's take a quick look at the coherent here. So that one was 100, and this one is a 250. Yeah, definitely a lot more inexpensive, and 40,000. I think that's let's see, do that times 2, 80k, and then another half. Yeah, actually, this shows that the A-type for coherent could still be quite expensive as well, actually. And then we get the simple B-types going for 200,000 ISK, still double the price of the A-type, so more availability still has to come in, and this has to come down in price. And then the C-type has no availability and is now going for 500,000 ISK. Unless I'm missing something, this does feel like some pretty crazy margins for those that are bringing these Tech 1 crystals to the market. But of course, sale volumes, you know, two of them being bought in the last 24 hours, for instance, here is definitely not great either. So that right balance, as always, needs to be found. Could be interesting to take a look at these in JITA as well, but for now, what we're seeing is that A-type is starting to come together, B-type still very expensive, and C-type kind of crazy prices. We'll do the same exercise for the Tech2 crystal. Honestly, we'll just go for the simple ones so that we can have what is most interesting for me, high-sec miners. So this stuff should be good for stuff like Veldspar. Let's see if we can view that. So simple ores, plagio, pyroxera, scordite, and Veldspar. Exactly, this is what you want to use in high-sec. Ooh, look at that! This A-type Tech2 crystal only costing 140,000 units. So that's not very expensive. Then we'll take a look at the B-type, 1.7, 1.8 million, which is what I want to be mining with. And then the C-type, just not available. No, not worth producing at the moment, since most people don't expect people to actually use that one. And then when we go for the production costs, so we go to industry and take a look at the blueprint. What do these cost? Let's see if I can't get rid of the requirements. So a RAM, that's really not expensive. So you need a Tech 1 version, and then here you need 8 hypersynaptic fibers. Let's see how that compares to a B-type. That requires, again, 1 RAM, 1 Tech 1 version, and then 10 hypersynaptic fibers. I doubt that this, you know, because of the Tech 1 version still being so expensive, you do have a little bit of margin, but yet again, going from 138,000 to 1.7 million, 10x the price, pretty easily. You know, that's quite a big margin on that Tech 2 B-type crystal as well. Maybe we'll take a quick look at maybe the complex ones here as well. A-type going for 950,000, here's 500 units available. Then we get the B-type going for almost 10 million ISK. Look at the availability, much smaller. And then the C-type, there's actually a couple available at 15 million ISK. So if you want to go out there and troll, destroy resources, they are available, but they're quite expensive. So your trolling efforts will cost you quite a little bit of ISK at the moment. This is definitely pretty interesting in my book as well. It explains what's happening with Noxium, and it shows that at the moment, honestly, if you're looking for probably the best bang for your buck, probably stick to the A-types for now, which I think is not that is not the fastest, but is basically going to be what's used most, because you get like the most resources out of the asteroids themselves. And that is the state of the new mining crystals. We'll take a quick look as well maybe at what's happening with the moon crystals. Could look at commons. 89 million common moon mining crystal tape I, type A1. Yeah, 90 million. Let's see what's required in industry. Just a little bit of Noxium. That is nuts. Those are pretty big margins. I can't imagine that anyone actually buys. Yeah, they actually do see they actually do see sales happening here as well. All right, let's take a look at the common B-type for Tech 1, going for 5 million. That's a little bit more reasonable. And then the C-type going for 1 million ISK. Here we get a very strange situation with these, maybe some market manipulation or something like that. Let's take a look at the Tech 2 versions. The A-type going for 1.6 million, definitely a little bit more reasonable. Quick look at the industry requirements here. So a Tech 1 version, and then again the hypersynaptic fibers. Could have gone taken a look at those as well in the PI tab, but all right. So 1.5 million to 10 million ISK. That's still quite a markup, I think, for just a Tech 1 crystal as well, and then a little bit of extra hypersynaptic fibers, and then finally a moon type C, just not available. So a little bit of manipulation that's happening here as well in that common moon mining crystal type A. So what you need for the most common ores, and that's going to be used the most. I think this is pure manipulation, maybe hoping that someone mistakes an 800,000 or something like that with these prices, but the availability is also very, very small at the moment. So I would say for miners, Dodixie seems quite interesting in order for you to unload your minerals. Don't do too much at the same time, but you are getting better prices than in JITA on most of these. And for industrialists, perhaps you could look at these new mining crystals, because there's definitely some opportunity for profit in those at the moment. And that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.